What's up, guys? We are here today to talk about my favorite science fiction books. This is an assortment of books in the sci-fi genre that I love and I think that you should read. Let's check them out. In no particular order, of course, let's start with The Sirens of Titan by Kurt Vonnegut. This is one of my favorite sci-fi reads. It is quite literally a classic book by Vonnegut. I think most people know him from Slaughterhouse-Five, which is also a great novel, but this one in particular is my favorite. There's a guy who essentially travels through time, convinces this man that not only is he going to travel to Mars as well as other planets, that he's also going to marry his wife slash ex-wife and also fall in love with the sirens that live on Titan, the moon. And this whole story just plays out in this really goofy but also philosophical way where it really makes you look at the things that we care about in life and some of the vain things that we prioritize, while also making us look at what really matters. So big fan of this book, highly recommend checking it out for sure. After that, we got to go with Red Rising. Essentially all the books go onto this list, but I'll just talk about it as a series. This is an incredible sci-fi epic series. There is around 6 books, I think, right now. A 7th book is on the way. One of my favorite books in general, but also specifically in the sci-fi genre. We follow Darrow, who is at the bottom of the totem pole as far as society is concerned, and it is a set in this very dystopian future where people are categorized and cast through this system where if you're a certain color, then you have to play a specific role. And essentially the Reds in this world play the role of a slave. The only thing is that nobody really knows that that's how it's set up. All the Reds kind of think that they are contributing to society by trying to move Earth to Mars. And then they realize that that is not the case. Essentially, Darrow goes on this galactic adventure to save his people and change the world. It's truly an emotionally heart-wrenching story that I highly recommend for everyone to read. After that, we have They Will Drown in Their Mother's Tears by Johannes Onyuru. This is a book that I feel no one has talked about. I kind of stumbled upon this book randomly at the library. The cover and the title just really gravitated towards me. There's not a lot of sci-fi elements in this one, but it is a time travel story, and so the main character of this story is actually investigating a situation where a young lady has claimed that she traveled through time to stop a terrorist attack, but she is one of the people in the terrorist attack. We actually received this story through 2 different perspectives. The journalist that's speaking with the prisoner, and then the prisoner in their alternative universe that they came from, learning not only about her backstory and how she ended up in the situation she's in, but also the perspective of someone on the outside looking in. It's a beautiful and very thought-provoking story about, how we treat people from different ethnicities, how we look at xenophobia, and also the things that drive people to radical belief systems. It also just kind of covers the experience of someone who looks like an outsider in a community, and not only does it look like that in the dystopian alternative world, but also in the real world that she's trying to go back and save. So there's just so much going on in this book. It's really well done. It's very poetic in its writing, and I wish more people read this book so I could talk to people about it and give their opinions. So I would really love it if more people actually read this. Who knows, maybe more people did read it and I'm just late and I've just missed the conversation about the book, which could be very fair because I didn't really start reading this aggressively until maybe a few years ago. After that, we got To Sleep in a Sea of Stars by Christopher Paolini. This is probably my favorite sci-fi book, just as a book itself. It has all my favorite tropes from the sci-fi genre in it, from alien first contact to space travel, found family, live ships. There's just so many cool things in this book, and the story is so interesting. It follows a xenobiologist who comes into contact with the alien, but then the alien kind of takes over her body, and there's also an army of aliens that are coming to get the alien suit from her body, and they're also trying to destroy the universe. There's just a lot going on in this book, and it is truly incredible, and it's even more impressive as Paolini's first sci-fi book. You guys may recognize the name Paolini, Christopher Paolini, from the Aragon series, very popular fantasy series. Well, this was his attempt at a sci-fi book, and I gotta say, he really knocked it out of the park with this one. Definitely give this a read if you haven't yet, because I think you're really missing out on probably one of the better sci-fi stories out there. And last but not least, we have the Southern Reach Trilogy, which is namely Annihilation, Authority, and Acceptance. This is 3 books about essentially another alien species kind of taking over the world and driving people crazy and also killing a bunch of people. This is First Contact, but really, really, really bad. Like worst case scenario First Contact. And I am such a fan of this book. You may recognize the word annihilation and the book Annihilation from the movie Annihilation, which was really good. This is the book that it was based off of. It is actually a part of a trilogy. The trilogy is spooky, very suspenseful, and very thought-provoking at the same time. I love the narrative perspective of this story more than anything. You just really feel like you sit in the seat of the character as they start to really lose their minds with what's happening in this story. I love this cover. I love this print. It is just an incredible physical book. This is probably one of my most prized possessions. I just randomly came across this, I think, at a Barnes & Noble, but I love that I have all 3 stories in one single print, and it just has such a sick cover on it. Like this is just so cool, and you don't realize it, but it says so much more than you think it does. But if you like sci-fi, but you like it in the spooky, scary way, this is definitely the series for you. Yes, those are some of my favorite sci-fi books. There are plenty of others that I haven't mentioned in this one. Hopefully I'll be able to make another round of videos about other sci-fi books, but I felt like I wanted to introduce these ones to you guys first. Let me know if you guys have read these in the comments. Let me know what you think about those books. And if you have any other recommendations, I would be so excited to add them to my TBR list. Speaking of recommendations, I was making this video and I realized I really haven't read many sci-fi books written by women. Man, honestly, only a couple that were written by people of color. In other genres, I feel like I've definitely read from more diverse authors, but if you guys have any particular recommendations that you love, that either was written by women or a person of color, I would love to give them a shot. So please feel free to send those my way, and happy reading.